the thing with the looking.
With the things I've looked at.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I like the thing with the thumbs and the
things I've played.
Yeah, I mean, how do you do that? It's so good.
Lots of time putting the podcast together, I guess.
And then, like, all the things you listen with the ears.
Yeah, things I listen to.
You're so good at it.
Oh.
And all the skits and your hair.
Oh, thank you. I very much like my hair.
It's so pretty. And, like, all the voices that you did. And all of that, the comedy bits. They're good and funny.
Thank you very much. Do you need a glass of water?
I think I've got water. I've got water! I love you. Have a good night. I need to pee. Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's that podcast where we have a bit of a catch-up and do silly voices and skits, and there's two queer trans ladies. That is us. How you doing?
I'm really good.
I told you not... Like, at least you're complimentary drunk, but you really shouldn't get drunk before the podcast.
I want to talk to you about things that you've played now. I'm tired.
Yeah, same. I'm still recovering from big long stream the other day, and
amazing.
It went really well, but I did a big 12-hour long stream, and that's longer than I normally stream for. That's a lot of time to be social.
You raised $10,000.
Heck,
the Barrow Project.
Yes, the Barrow Project. It's a good charity. You should check them out. We'll probably talk about them a bit later. I'll probably mention them.
Oh,
Heck. But shall we do that thing we usually do at the start of the podcast where we talk about things we've played this week?
Things we played, yeah.
Well, what have you played this week?
What have I played? Well, I got that, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this a lot. The
itch.io. I can pull up the full name of the bundle. It is the itch.io bundle for racial justice and equality.
Indeed.
Yeah, it is a charity bundle that currently has over 1,000 games in it. That's a lot of video games for a minimum $5 donation to charity.
Indeed.
So I'm assuming, like me, you've been playing some games from this charity bundle.
I have indeed. I've tried a few out.
Tell me about the games you've tried in the charity bundle.
In the charity bundle, well, let's see. I started off with Extreme Meatpunks Forever.
Oh yes, you played some of this. No, I think I ended up playing more of it than you.
I think I played about half of it.
Probably about that, yeah. Because I think it's about 6 chapters.
Yeah, and I've got like some of the way through chapter 3.
Yeah. So do you want to introduce it and then I'll sort of take off?
Cool. It's about a group of people who live in a world where there is mech fighting, but the mechs are like meat Gundams.
Yeah, meat Gundams is the right term for it. They're sort of like, they're definitely very organic, squishy, nerve-filled.
Yeah, you sort of climb into the ribcage thing and jam your head back against a spike, and it connects you to all the...
It connects to, like, your central nervous system. It's not like,
and its nervous system becomes part of you.
Yeah, but also, like, it seems like there is something, perhaps... there is something in... You're not just like, I am now me, but in the mech. It's like, oh no, my emotions are all intensified, and I can feel all the sensory inputs from the whole thing.
Ultra Brad.
Yeah, everyone seems to have their sort of personality of like, this is what I feel like once I'm in the meat mech. It's the meat mech.
Close the ribcage around you. Yeah, the characters are really interesting. I can... Liliana, I think?
Yeah.
Liana. She was really cool. She's very badass.
Yeah.
She is in a wheelchair.
Yep.
And still has accessibility to meat mech.
Indeed.
Which is very cool. And there's Sam, who is a gay black guy.
Yeah, his
he's
whole...
more of a farmer.
Yeah, he's a farmer, and his whole deal is like, he lives in small rural town. I'm going to say America. I don't know if it's America, but it feels like the aftermath of America. And his only friend and the only other gay person in town he knows is moving away. And he's like, oh shit, I'm alone in tiny small town America now.
Which is full of fascists.
Yeah. Liana, who we were saying before, like, she's got a lot of anger in her. She's very like, fuck it, I want to do like she's the kind of person I could imagine at the front of a protest march, like screaming "fuck you" at cops.
Yeah,
that kind of energy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, she's got real badass energy.
Yeah,
like nothing's gonna stop her, and she's gonna like organize and get stuff done, and if something's not being done, she'll be like, hey, I can make that happen.
She's very like go be doing things.
Yeah.
There's Cass,
who is non-binary and sort of a bit shy.
Yeah, not super open to connecting with other people, and that gets explored in the latter half of the game. And I think, I don't want to say about why that is, but I think it's really interesting.
Cool. I mean the bits I played with them, I think they had less interaction than I had with most of the other characters.
Yeah, they definitely are a latter half of the game character, I think.
Then there's Brad.
Big old nerd.
So nerdy.
He's meme trash.
Yeah, absolutely. He dabs, and he, like, when he introduces himself to the, is it Meatpunks group or Meat Freaks?
Yeah, the Meatpunks.
Meatpunks. He's like, I'm Brad, he, him, and I never fucking learned how to read.
Yeah. Can I tell you my favourite inconsequential fact about Brad? He can speak verbally in ASCII.
Yes.
He knows how to speak ASCII, and I fucking love that.
Yeah. There's at least one time where someone's like, how did you say that?
How did you make that sound with your mouth?
Yeah. I mean, they are very sweet characters. I think the bit I got to, we just met a youth pastor.
Oh yes, the sun worshipping youth pastor
Ed, who's like, I'm out here to find out what the sun's plots are.
Yeah, what's the sun up to? It's got secrets. What's the sun hiding from us?
Well, I mean, from what I can tell, it's too hot.
It's too hot.
Burning all the people up.
What's it doing that for?
Desertifying. Well, I imagine that was probably humans that did that. Take a wild stab.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the mechs, like, have to be fed blood. So instead of petrol stations, they're like just blood stations.
Yeah. And the other important thing about this world is, there are fascists.
There's fascists everywhere.
And the fascists, the cops are not afraid to be aligned with the fascists.
Not even slightly.
Because, like, the thing that kicks this game off is, you got in a fight with a fascist in self-defense, but it turns out that fascist's dad is a cop. Fuck.
Yep, so now we have to run out of town.
Yeah, we
leave our lives behind.
Yeah, and then you sort of just cross the country.
Meet Gundam road trip.
Yeah. Meet Gundam road trip beating up fascists.
Yeah.
It's sort of half visual novel, half Gundam combat, like very basic indie combat game.
The art for the characters is really good, like the profile pictures for them.
Yeah.
But then you've also got like the backgrounds for like locations.
And
it's all like ASCII but with coloured in sections.
Yeah, it's colourful, like 2D scenes, but with like ASCII for all of the outlines of things?
All of the outlines are like ASCII, but like you might have like a notice board or something, and they might have coloured all of the paper on the notice board different colours.
Yeah, it's a real interesting visual style.
I wasn't sold at first, but I got happy with it the more it went on. Yeah, it is a very interesting game, and I might play more of it. Honestly, I found the combat a bit frustrating.
Yeah.
And I know there are ways to skip the combat, but it felt like I don't usually play visual novels.
Yeah. We've had this conversation before. I like a good visual novel because as someone that can't really picture books, it's like, it's a book, but there are pictures.
Yes.
I need picture books. That's what I need.
Yeah, we should be allowed to have picture books.
Yeah. Which is what visual novels are great for, but yeah, so do you want to talk about the combat? Because that was the big thing that sort of put you off.
Yes, so you got WSD to control.
Yes, it's a sort of top-down perspective.
Yeah, and it's very sort of chunky pixels.
Yeah.
It feels a bit like thrashed together in MS Paint. And then you've got, like, left attack will be your basic sort of, like, swing attack of some sort. And it's got, like, a sort of visual range on it. Just like, there's sort of, like, an energy field thing that comes out when you do that. And then your right click will very much depend on what character you are. So somebody will have, like, a blink effect. Somebody will have, if you're travelling fast, can just stop all your momentum.
Yep. Or you can speed yourself up to give yourself extra momentum to do a bigger hit.
Mm-hmm.
It's all like nice, interesting character stuff that each one can do differently.
Yeah. I have to say I found Brad's one probably the easiest, because he's got this thing where he can do like a real big punch, but it will knock him out as well.
Yeah, so
if that's like the last person you're knocking out.
If you can get the enemy like within a certain range, you're just like, fuck it, done.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all useful for different things.
Mm-hmm. He's also got really good recovery from knockouts.
Yeah.
So if you do happen to sort of double knockout with somebody, you will probably be the first one back up.
Yeah.
But and you've finished it now, I believe.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say about the combat. I kind of wish there was a visual indicator around your mech that would sort of go like so that you wouldn't have to look for where your mouse was on the screen. That would go, currently you're aiming in this direction with your punch. It'd be useful to not have to keep track of your exact mouse location on screen.
Mm-hmm.
I adapted to it. I got used to that. That took a little work. The main thing I had a lot of trouble with is early on in the game, the way you win these mech fights is by knocking other mechs like out of the arena or off a cliff or out of bounds. And a lot of the early locations have like 3 safe walls that you can't be knocked out of, and one that's like, knock them out over here. And I assume the reasoning for that is fewer places for you, the player, to get knocked off. That'll make it easier for you at the start. But in practice, it means, okay, well, unless I can get around this one specific side of them, I can't even start pushing them towards defeat.
Yep.
And if they're in a corner, it's like, I've got to try and lead you far enough away from the corner that I can sneak behind you and stop you getting in the corner, and now I'm in the corner, now I can push you out the way. The first little while, I didn't get on great with the combat. I found it difficult, I found it a bit frustrating. What I would say to people who find the game interesting but are getting frustrated with that early combat is, don't be afraid to skip a couple of those early ones if you're getting frustrated.
And to do that, you would need to fall off.
Yeah, you need to die once. Just go throw yourself off the side if you're getting frustrated, and click skip.
Otherwise you'll do what I did, which is just stay in combat for ages. Like, I'm alive, I'm not dying, they're not dying either.
Yeah, no. If you're fully those first few times, just throw yourself off if you're getting frustrated, and keep going with the interesting world building. Once you start getting to the maps where like 2 or even later 3 of the sides of the arena are places you can knock people off, then maybe give it another shot. I think it opens up and works a lot better then.
Yeah, because early on it is a case of like, there is just one wall you can get past, and we're just going to move the obstacles around.
Yes.
So it's like, here is a big open side. Now here is a big open inside, but there's one thing in the middle. Now there's like a whole nook on one side, so you would have to get things out of that crevice and then knock them towards the hole.
It works much better once it opens up a second wall.
Yeah.
And I'd say there is a lot of fun to be found in that combat system, but you're gonna have to deal with those first couple of levels being a bit janky and going, okay, I'm not having fun with this level, I'll just throw myself off and I'll try the next one. Narratively, it's fantastic. There's more characters that are introduced after where you dropped off playing that, again, they keep up a good level of diversity going ahead in the narrative. They set up for a sequel which has been kickstarted. And the sort of cliffhangery, like the ending they have is very, very interesting. The sequel, they have raised money to pay an outside developer with more experience in the non-visual novel side to do the mech combat.
Okay.
For the second one. So the sequel will have hopefully better mech combat, which would be nice. They're like, we have some money, this did alright. Please help us improve that bit.
We can do plot. We can do plot and story and characters.
Yeah. So I think at the very least it's worth pushing through in the hopes that the sequel will... It seems like they're aware of where their weaknesses were and are working on that for a next one. There are some real powerful scenes in this. One thing I really appreciated in the latter half of the game is, without spoiling the content of scenes in advance, it does a good job of going, hey, look, here's some options you have. Warning, this one's going to be a bit emotionally intense. We'll give you a heads up on that one now. So,
if you read the README, there is an extensive spoiler, a trigger warning list.
That's it. It's got like, hey, look, if you want the trigger warnings, they're there in the README. If you don't want trigger warnings, but you just want to know this one's going to be a bit intense, maybe, that option is there. It gives you a warning going into the last chapter, like, hey, this last chapter is going to be a little bit intense here, just, pre-warning you. It does a lot to sort of give you signposts so that you know when something that might be a bit like, okay, I should probably be ready for this, comes up. Yeah, I really like it. I am very excited to see what happens with a sequel to this. Yeah, heck.
Well, have you played anything else?
Yeah, I've played some other things from that bundle. Definitely not played as much of some of the other things. I played a game called That Puzzle Game Everyone Knows, but I can't call it that for legal reasons. The image for this game was just a cube with a face on it, and I'm not going to lie, I initially assumed it was going to be a knockoff of Thomas Was Alone. No, this is Tetris for PC. It is Tetris for PC, where all the Tetris blocks have little faces on them, and all of the music is played on a kazoo. So it's a kazoo rendition of the Tetris theme. And it's just a nice port of Tetris on the PC that is definitely not Tetris. Sorry, it's That Puzzle Game Everyone Knows, but I can't call it that for legal reasons. So that's in that charity bundle. If that puzzle game everyone knows about is a thing you're craving to play on PC, it's in that bundle. What about you? Have you played anything else?
I played a bit of Moon Base.
Oh yes. It's Cats on the Moon, I'm guessing. Cats on the Moon.
Cats on the Moon. I had a little calico kitty in a pink helmet called Smudge. Because, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah. I played some of the tutorial. It's crafting and surviving in space. And it has very, very, very needy bars.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a cat on the moon. You're going to need some oxygen and some energy if you're going to run that flashlight. Because it's really freaking dark at night, and you're gonna need some food, and you're gonna need some other stuff too, and you've got a health bar, and there is stuff literally everywhere.
Yeah, so it just throws too many meters at you at once that all go down too quickly before you've had a chance to really.
Yeah, there's 4 meters, 2 of which go down like really really quickly. It's despite the fact you have a flashlight, it's barely worth using.
Okay.
There's just so many resources around. It's like, well, I need to unlock like a whole nother level of research before I've even got somewhere to put these things. Otherwise, I'm just harvesting shit and chucking it on the ground near my base so I can pick it up. It's like, oh, that's not ideal.
No.
It's like, well, okay, what am I going to do when I need rocks to start hopefully getting to a point of making electronics? It's like there's stuff that's greyed out, stuff that you know that you need other things to get to, but it seems like there's an awful lot. And the one of the problems I had with Forager was like, I've got so much stuff and I don't have like just a dump bin to put things in. So you're presenting me with all these cool things to pick up. I don't know what to prioritize because you haven't told me that yet.
Yeah, you haven't had enough time in the game to know what is useful.
Also, until I dig it up, I don't even know what most of this is.
Yeah.
So I played that. I might go back to it another time when I'm presented with less games at once.
Yes, it's one of those, like, this is frustrating me enough that I don't feel the desire to play it over 1,000 other things I could be playing.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's fair.
What about you? Have you got any others?
I started playing another visual novel today. Definitely more of a straightforward visual novel. It's called 3 Lesbians in a Barrow. It is a furry dating sim visual novel-y game. Basically, you've got 3 university students, all very different personalities, who have been sort of wedged together on a university research project, and they're researching this sort of... So I guess it'd be like a tomb And they're like, oh, it's fine, we'll go write a paper about it, and it's supposed to be sealed, and it's open. And they go wandering and going, oh yeah, well, have a look around, write about it for the paper. And oops, roof caves in, they are trapped inside. Lesbian antics ensue while trapped in a confined space. It's got a very enemies to lovers kind of energy, where it's like, this is three people who do not get on well with each other, who have sort of been wedged together in pairings, but when forced to work together and cooperate in a tense, enclosed scenario,
They put
perhaps
their differences aside and nuzzle.
Yeah, exactly. They'll put their differences aside and realise, actually, we're three cute lesbians in a barrow, maybe we should make the best of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not hugely deep into it yet, but I mean, the character art is adorable, and all the characters are written to be very different to each other, and it's been nice so far seeing the sort of like, okay, I can see how you're building these characters and where they're gonna clash and grow. What about you? Have you played anything else?
I played an awful lot of Lena's Inception.
Yes, I'm playing that tomorrow. It was on my most anticipated indie games of the year list.
It's rather good.
It's in that bundle.
It's rather good.
Yeah, it's a Zelda-y one, isn't it?
It's a procedurally generated Zelda-like. I don't know how the procedural generation works. I think it's just like the maps for individual levels. So like the dungeons, you get a generating area as you go into them the first time. There's these weird caves that you'll sometimes find inside dungeons, like a dungeon in a dungeon. Ooh. And you might get some extra pickup stuff. The plot is very, very silly.
Yeah, I'm aware from when I was covering this game before it came out, there's here's a mockery of that, it's dangerous to go alone, but there's blood sort of smeared across the floor and...
Oh, before you even get to that.
Well, yeah.
So basically, you're a teacher, and you just sort of wander into the back room. It's like, oh, here's a 2x4. Okay, class, I'm just popping outside. And as soon as you go outside, your whole school just starts glitching, and you can't go back in, and then she's like, oh, okay, I don't know how to fix this. I'm gonna go and just find out what's going on. So you have this chicken called Henrietta that's sort of leading you around. She leads you to the hero, whose name escapes me. I think it begins with an L, but it's not Link. He's wearing a blue tunic and pointy hat.
Yes.
So you take him into the tutorial area.
Yes, and does he die?
He dies almost immediately.
Yes, the legendary hero dies in oh shit, fuck.
Literally, he goes and stands in one side of a room, pretty much in your first room. Yeah. Something falls out of the ceiling on his head, immediately killing him.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, I guess I'll do this now.
Yes, as soon as you started describing meeting this hero, I was like, oh god, I remember what this game's plot is.
Shortly after that, you find a cave, and it's got that, it's dangerous to go alone, and then just, blood smeared.
Yeah.
And the elder is dead in a corner.
Now you go on the Zelda adventure.
You've got to go and save the prince, because the bank's foreclosed on him. Basically, he's been dethroned by the bank, who've basically taken over, got rid of all your palace guards. So there's a lot of I'm going to stop this fat cat, and I've got to stop them doing all of that stuff. Curious. What else was there? There's some dark power who is creating all the bosses. Ooh. And teaching all the bosses. So as you defeat one boss, you'll get tips about the next boss.
Yeah.
And obviously in typical Zelda fashion, oh, you've beaten this dungeon. Cool. Now you have the power to pick up heavy things, which means you've unlocked more of the map.
Yeah.
Now you can jump over holes, now you can swim in and stuff. It's expanding really well.
Yeah.
I've got almost all of the 8 things that I had to get at the beginning, but I'm wondering if it's going to be a Link to the Pasty and be that's it, you got those things, now do a completely whole other bit, because I've unlocked less than half of the map, I think, at this point.
Yeah, and so far it's not had that issue that sometimes happens with procedural games where it's I can feel that this wasn't designed.
It feels like it was built in chunks.
Yeah.
And then, put in such a way, the game knows, okay, I can only put these chunks in these particular places
Yeah.
so that they work.
Yes.
So while I'm sure it is entirely random, it doesn't feel too bad.
Yeah.
There is some repetition of enemies of like, here is a blue version, here is a grey version, here is a red version, but they act differently enough, and there is enough else going on in the game. You have companions, so as I said, you start with Henrietta, who just looks angry and doesn't really do anything. I then had Gordon, who is a pumpkin.
Gordon the pumpkin.
Gordon the pumpkin, and he just attacks frickin' everything. Like he'll just like there are some rooms where I'll be like, I don't like that enemy, and other rooms where I'll just be like, yeah, fucking come on then, and we'll just completely attack your enemies. Apparently there's a bat as well that also attacks things. I've currently got the librarian hanging out with me.
Yeah.
They are fun. I've been running around finding books. One content warning: there is a Harry Potter reference in one of the books. Yes.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's like they're trying to do parody stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something I didn't need to think about this week, to be honest.
I mean, this week in particular, yeah.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, I'm really eager to give that a go. I was tempted to give it a play today, but I wanted to get through Extreme Meatpunks forever. I wanted to find out what the deal with their meat mechs was. Yeah, my meat Gundams.
Meat Gundam. What about you? Have you played any others?
The only other one I've played this week, I think, is a really short autobiographical game called Escort Yourself Out.
Okay.
So it's a game that deals with how to survive trauma and trauma triggers, and particularly sort of being there for other people to keep them safe in the way that maybe you yourself needed someone to keep you safe, when you were younger, when these things happened. It's sort of personified, at least at first, as the sort of adult version of this character sort of walking hand in hand with the younger version of themselves, trying to sort of trying to say things to reassure them, or to distract them from things that are about to happen, or you have once per level where you can sort of just get out of a situation fully. You can sort of just walk away and then come back in a bit. The game, I think the gameplay sections of the game do quite well get across a simple but powerful idea. The game then does kind of take a bit of a tangent where it goes more into the developer wondering if it's okay for them to make a game about their own trauma, and just sort of musing on, is making a piece of experience about my trauma okay, or is it, sort of using it as a sales tactic, and whether just sort of questioning whether making commercial art about your own struggles, like dealing with the sort of weird guilt that can come with creating something out of your bad experiences. A lot of that is not dealt with in gameplay sense. It's a lot of text that's delivered. I think it's an interesting thing to read, but it's definitely not like where the crux of the game, this sort of like how to sort of get through and survive traumatic situations. That is, here is a gameplay mechanic that we have that is built around enforcing an experience, which I think is a more interesting use of video games as an art form than I'm just going to do several pages of text talking about a thing. I think it's all very interesting, but I think the bits that are gameplay feel better thought out. But it's pretty short. Like, there's nothing to be lost in just giving it a go. It has some really insightful stuff to show, even if I don't think the entire experience is as cohesively thought out as its better parts. What about you? Have you played anything else?
I finished playing Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis.
Yeah, how'd that go?
I dislike Indiana Jones as a character.
You don't say.
I mean, I didn't really remember a lot of it. I know as a kid I used to watch Temple of Doom over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That was my on-repeat film for a while. No.
He's a bit
Don't
of
just
a
grab and kiss people when they're angry at you.
yeah. He's a bit of a misogynist.
Yeah.
Colonializer. Like everything belongs in a British museum.
American.
A Western museum.
Yes. Yeah. Just like, let's go around and destroy all these things and take all these things.
Everything is mine because I am an explorer.
Mm-hmm. And I back myself up by claiming to be some kind of scientist.
Science. I've never seen a scientist jump and catapult themselves around a room like that. You are a thief. That's what you are.
Pretty much. And like just completely destroying Atlantis. It's like just popping into Atlantis. Oh, I'm gonna drive this thing through a wall.
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah, like it was definitely when he kissed Sophia. I was like, no, I do not like you. I'll get through this because I remember the rest of the plot generally being interesting.
Yeah,
but Dr. Jones, I am not happy with you. I killed some Nazis, so that was good.
I mean, that's a positive.
I mean that's really why you play an Indiana Jones game, right?
Well, exactly.
The only other thing I played was I played a bit more Void Bastards.
Oh yeah.
I finally got the first key item.
Ooh, look at you go.
After owning it for a while and having played it now for about 5 hours, I finally got a key item. Wasn't a fan. Played some Binding of Isaac on your stream.
Oh yeah.
I finally beat Mum.
You did. You did it on stream.
On stream.
Yeah.
I think it was the power of the audience that helped me get through that.
Yeah, you had some real good power-ups working there.
Apparently so. And I had Jim and Conrad whispering in my ears about what was good to do. Although you kept talking about things just like, I've got this power up and it doesn't seem to be doing what you're talking about, so I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, you had one that theoretically should teleport. If you get hit by any damage, you get teleported out the room to have to start over. But because you had a thing that was doing auto-fire, it was never triggering. You had a lot of stuff that was interacting in odd ways with each other.
I mean, isn't that how Binding of Isaac generally does?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I don't sit there playing it with the wiki open, so I don't know what any of this stuff does.
I recognise, like, half of it.
It's been so long, and I couldn't even work out, like, the buttons for, like, pills and cards and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I was, like, bombing stuff, and sometimes using my, whatever the primary special thing was.
Yes.
But I couldn't work out where things like, where the pills button was.
Oh, no.
So I don't know what's going on. I'm just here to vamp for time.
You did excellent vamping.
And now I'm feeling very intimidated because there's at least 3 people who play Binding of Isaac pretty well.
Hey, you beat Mom. You played pretty well.
I had to.
There was pressure.
I was compelled to at that point. I think that's everything. Should we do a quick rundown of other things that are in that bundle that people might want to look at?
Yeah. So there's stuff like Tonight We Riot is a big thing that's in there.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, it is a side-scrolling beat-em-up that's sort of a bit like Pikmin in that you collect a bunch of people together to basically go tear down capitalism and, start fights with the police and throw bricks at cops. And it's like 4 hours long and it's a really good game.
Nice. If you want to feel less guilty about playing Night in the Woods, that's in there.
Yeah. Night in the Woods, just like maybe do some Googling about the things that go on around that game and go in informed.
Oh yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, like, I think that game's fantastic, but like, here's... you make your own judgments. You got it in a charity bundle. They got no money out of you.
That's why I said you can feel less guilty about it.
I suppose so. That is an in.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Langaskov and the terribly cursed emerald is a pretty short game, but it's by the people that did the Stanley Parable.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Simon Amstell narrates a lot of it. It is. I don't want to say much like the Stanley Parable, I don't want to say what it is until you sort of get into it.
Mm-hmm.
The trailer for it, much like the demo for the Stanley Parable, is tonally, but not exactly representative of the game. It's a cool little thing. Were there any other cool ones you'd seen in there?
I mean, I don't know what most of them are. I picked out Art School specifically because I remember seeing that a while ago and going, I want to play that game. I have not yet installed it.
There's the opening sort of prologue hour of a game that I was really into when I tried it out earlier this year, called Don't Take It Personally, I Just Don't Like You, which is a dating sim in which not every character is gonna like you.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Sort of, you may invest time in someone and they just aren't into you, and you have to kind of be okay with that.
I'm just looking at Democratic Socialism Simulator. Is that a cat in a hat?
That is a cat in a hat. I've not had a chance to try that yet, but its art style looks adorable.
Yeah.
There are... Which other ones do I know already? There's a game that I don't know anything about it other than it's called Hot Gay Bro Dragons.
That sounds amazing.
I know, right?
I think Nuclear Throne's in there.
Oh, yeah, I believe you're right. There's a game I've not had a chance yet to try called Sewer Rave, and it's about some rats having a rave in a sewer. That seemed kind of cool. There's like 1,000 games in there. I've barely scratched the surface.
For as little as $5.
Yeah, I think I downloaded like 30 games to be like, this will get me started.
I started with like 4.
I started a big list to be like, okay, well, I'm going to try and get through these in the next like 2 weeks. We'll see what happens.
I will review all of them.
Well then, time for this. Hello everyone. Welcome to the first conference of Not E3 2020. We are here to announce our brand new next generation games console. Is everyone excited?
We're also here to announce our next generation console.
I suppose we're up first. So, first we should talk about the price. Our new game box will cost $600.
Our new games console will be much closer to $400. Our game system will be $400 on release, available in a 60 gig and a 1 terabyte version.
It's going to be 80 gig and 1.5 terabyte.
Ours is going to have ray tracing, crossfire, SLI.
Ours is going to have ray tracing and Tress effects.
Ours is going to have 60 teraflops.
18 teraflops.
We're going to have proprietary controllers that come in the box. You get 2 of them, so you can play with your friends straight out of the box.
4 of them. Oh God, we can't afford this.
And there's going to be pack-in titles. Pack-in title on our system. Pack-in titles. There will be 2 pack-in titles with our launch of this come.
Hey.
What?
We're both going to bankrupt ourselves if we try and one-up this pissing contest. Should we, back and forth at one, one of us gets one good thing, one gets the other good thing, we just, Because I can't afford to do this.
Sure. I know just the very thing. Gameplay trailer!
Gameplay! First gameplay.
Do you struggle with waiting?
I'm just so impatient.
Do long periods between cause and effect make you physically uncomfortable?
There's nothing I hate more.
Are you left barely able to think about anything but the outcome while you wait, meaning you're unable to complete even the simplest of tasks in the meantime?
I just want to get on with it now.
Try Patience Soul. Just take one when the feeling starts, and you'll be able to get on with your day. Patience Soul. Live your life while you wait.
Thanks, Patience Soul.
So, what have you put in your eyes?
I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about artificial intelligence.
Ooh, any particular reason?
Well, the algorithm, the almighty algorithm recommended me one video. and I really enjoyed it, and then I just sort of fell down the rabbit hole.
Cool.
So there's two channels, but it's the same presenter on both. There's the channel Computer File, and also Robert Miles on YouTube. Robert Miles is the person in a lot of the Computer File videos, but
Is Robert Miles the music guy? Wrote the track Children back in the 90s?
may have done. I don't know.
Possibly a different Robert Miles.
Probably a different Robert Miles, I would guess. So his whole thing is that he is a researcher in the field of artificial intelligence safety and how you, if in the field of artificial intelligence research and the whole field of people trying to create, like, how can we create a computer program that is sentient, that can think, that can act, that can learn, that can grow, that could eventually be a super intelligence. And his whole thing is thinking about the various problems of how do you develop AI in a way that is safe. So a great video, and the one that got me sort of watching his channel, was this video about if you were trying to create a robot with an artificial intelligence in it, and you needed a stop button that was a defense in case something was going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how you would do that. Because it seems like a simple, obvious thing. You just, you know, let's say the example they use in the video is, let's say you programmed a robot to build you a cup of tea. The way you would encourage it to go make you a cup of tea is you'd assign a score to it. So like 100 points if you go make a cup of tea. Then, it's going to make the cup of tea and there's a baby crawling in front of it. It goes, well, there's no point deduction for running over a baby. That's not the 100 points I get for building the cup of tea. So you
give it desires and fears.
Yeah, so you give it desires and fears, and like let's say you build a stop button, and you try and press the stop button to be like, oh, you're going to walk over that baby, I need to hit the stop button. The robot's going to try and stop you pressing the stop button as soon as it has a concept of what that is, because I get 100 points if I make the cup of tea. If you press my stop button, I can't make the cup of tea and get the points. So you've made a button that you haven't told it can't press the button, it can't stop you pressing the button, but it knows it can't make its cup of tea that gets it points if you give it the stop button. So then you start going like, okay, well, maybe I'll assign some points to pressing the stop button. It'll be less points, but don't stop.
It might try and press its own button.
Yeah, this is the next point. Is it goes like, yeah, if you give it say 50 points instead of 100 for letting you press the stop button.
I've seen this sort of thing with AI for like playing Mario and stuff.
Yes,
and they were like, we've worked out that it's doing this.
Yeah,
because it seems to think that this is a good idea.
Yeah, because like you then go to like, okay, what if you put the button on its back somewhere where it can't reach it? It might then, instead of going to press the cup to make the cup of tea, head straight for the baby, because it knows, well, if I do that, that's easier than making the cup of tea, and you'll press the stop button and I'll get 50 points. So it's trying to work out, how do you install a safety? So then you go like, okay, what if we made the stop button something that wasn't attached to the robot that a human had? Okay, well, you still run into the same problem. The robot might just go for the really easy behaviour that gets you to hit the stop button rather than going to make the cup of tea.
What if you make it so that the robot can't be aware of the stop button?
Well, that's a problem, is... How do you... If you're trying to create something that is genuinely intelligent and learning and is able to learn, how do you program in... You cannot ever be aware of the concept of a stop button, because there are so many instances in which a robot in life, it might walk past the microwave in the kitchen and go, that's got a stop button. I wonder about stop buttons and machines.
Yeah, but if you put it on their back, somewhere they can't see it.
Yeah.
And I've already assigned pronouns to them.
Yeah.
It's somewhere they can't see. It's not part of like their like neural processing.
Yeah.
It's just like a direct thing to the battery that just goes and stop.
Yes, but that again, it will most likely pick up on the scenarios in which it was stopped. It will go, well, what was I doing when I was stopped? I'll do that again. It's an oversimplified situation, but it was used as a sort of ballpark for like, these are the kind of problems you get into when trying to build safety redundancies into AI.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a whole channel of just like lots and lots of conceptual videos on these kinds of topics. I made a note of some of the specific videos that I was watching.
Psychological philosophy.
There was stuff like the AI stop button problem. This is probably to do with the video on the topic of that sort of video gaming one that you talked about thing there. The like computer solving computer game problems in weird ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the classic example of this is trying to train an AI to be like, make a creature that runs fast, and it, you know, how far it goes horizontally in a certain amount of time is how fast it is. So the computer would create things that were tall and then just make them fall over. Because then, well, that went vertically quite fast.
Yeah, or the ones where they try and, like, this thing has a body and legs.
Yep.
You have to get to the end, and very often it will just end up, like, piling its face sort of straight down into the dirt, and then just, like,
yeah. Or
spinning legs.
There was an AI for the game Qbert that they programmed to be like, hey, hop on as many things as you can to get points, trying to get it to play Qbert.
Oh, isn't that the one that found the...
Yeah, it found a bug.
Easter egg.
It found a bug that allowed it to stay on the level indefinitely, never finishing the level but racking up infinite points on an empty level.
That nobody knew was
no
there.
one had ever found, and this AI was like, found it, done it. Yeah. There was a really interesting video about how do you teach an AI not to seek, like, 1000% efficiency. Like, because a lot of problems you would get an AI to solve, like, collect as many stamps as possible. If an AI is searching for peak efficiency might be, well, we get rid of everything on the planet that isn't stamp collecting and turn the entire planet into a stamp collecting resource. That would be efficient for collecting stamps.
Drago!
Yeah. How do you encourage an AI that you've set, like, this is your one task, to recognize that there are limitations and to set, like, limitations that are reasonable?
Yeah.
There's a great video about Asimov's law of robotics and why they just simply don't work and why they're not a thing. You can't just...
Lovely idea, but...
Yeah, you can't simply program a robot to say you will do no harm to humans. It's like, well, you get into this whole moral debate of what constitutes harm, what constitutes a human. Yeah, like, unless you're ready to program into this AI... At what exact point from conception to birth does something become human? You know, what is emotional harm? Harm is, you know, there's so many moral questions that you have to pre-solve in order to go, don't harm humans. And there was a great one about the AI that play various games and why Go as a board game is like the holy grail of like really impossible to program good AI for.
I do not know this game.
It is, I believe it's Chinese. It is it's lots of circles on a board. It's kind of, it looks a little like checkers, but it's black and white circles. The problem...
Oh, you mean like Reversey or Othello? Where it's like you put one down and it flips over the colours of everything in the line?
Possibly. It may be similar.
Okay.
But yeah, because they talk about the fact that it's easy to program for chess because you can assign values to, like, the queen is a more valuable piece than the pawn. You can assign values to board states. But when all the pieces are essentially the same value, it's very hard to program an AI that can think ahead steps on it. So yeah, I've been on a real deep dive on AI safety and teaching AIs.
Awesome.
So check out... Computer File and Robert Miles on YouTube.
Oh, heck.
What about you?
Oh. Well, I finally saved up enough to get my computer.
Yes, you did.
So I've spent most of the week watching how to build a computer.
Yeah.
These days. Because it's been, nearly 2 decades since I last even sat in the same room as someone building a computer.
Yeah. In the space of a week, you've gone from probably knowing less about computer building than me to definitely knowing more about... at the very least, knowing more about modern computer specs and hardware and what's going on in the computer scene right now than
I can tell you about what's going on right now.
Right this second. This week, here's what's happening with computers.
Yeah, I'm sure in 6 months, it will all be completely irrelevant again. But right now, I can tell you that what I've made is an alright computer.
It's better than alright. It is
It doesn't have a 2080 Ti in it.
No one needs a 2080 Ti right now.
Or multiple NVIDIA Titan RTXs.
You have 32 fucking gigs of RAM and a
I'm going to
graphic.
be doing video editing.
Yeah, and a graphics card that can do entry level ray tracing.
It's a
You-
2070.
You've built a pretty damn alright computer.
Seems alright. Yeah. So I've basically been like, how do you put a computer together? I've even found a video of someone with my motherboard using a very similar processor. Just like,
Yeah.
okay, I feel better about this now because I understand what's happening.
Yeah.
I've watched lots of like tech specs about this stuff. Things to avoid, things that like I watched one today that was really interesting of how not to build a computer.
Yeah.
Like all the things people tell you not to do.
Hmm.
Like don't put the motherboard down on carpet.
Yes.
Don't like handle like all the copper all the connectors on the RAM. Don't like throw things around. Definitely don't rub the motherboard on the carpet while you're doing this. Don't put too much thermal compound on.
Yeah.
Like don't put like all of the fans pointing outward and none of them pointing inwards.
Yeah.
And they get to the end of it and it posts. And it's like, okay, you've handled this like in the roughest manner possible. You've done everything people say not to do. And it works. Like, it's not ideal. Really, you need to sort those fucking fans out and maybe clean up the thermal paste because you might get shorts if it's starting to spread to the rest of the board. But overall, like, the fact that you can still do all that, you don't have to worry too much. Worry.
Yes.
Be careful, by all means.
Yeah. Be
But don't shit
cautious.
yourself.
Be cautious, but don't get paralysed by fear.
Yeah. Which I think was really comforting to watch.
Yeah.
As someone who's always been like, okay, yeah, you've got to make sure that you're constantly touching, like, the radiator while you touch any of the components, because if there is even one iota of static on you, everything is dead.
Nothing. It's not as bad as it once was.
I don't know if it's like what once was or
even if
what.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not as scary as it's been made out to be.
Yeah.
Largely by like really. What's the word when you're like gatekeepy?
Yeah.
Like really gatekeepy PC nerds.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just like, oh no, you've got to do it absolutely this way, otherwise you wreck it, and you've got to have this. And you've
People
got to have
for whom PC building is their identity.
Yeah, I think a lot of my PC fear comes from the fact that when I was working in retail, my assistant manager used to, like, every 3 months he was upgrading at least some part of his computer.
Yeah.
Like, if there was a new graphics card out, he was, like, going, okay, I'm going to buy one of that, I'm going to do tons of overtime, I'm going to offer to work at other shops, to get as much overtime in as possible. I'm not going to drink this month, I'm not going to go out this month.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the new motherboard and then I'm going to sell my old one for probably half what I paid for it 3 months ago. I'm going to stick that in and then I'm going to play, like, Day of Defeat, I think was his game of choice. Just, like, for hours and hours and hours. Guy lived on pasta, beans and cheese because it was really cheap.
I mean, he found what he enjoyed, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, it wasn't a computer so much as a pet.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand it. I'm not going to yuck his young, but like,
Yeah. Do what makes you
felt
happy.
Excessive.
Yeah. Not for me.
No, I couldn't dedicate my life to that. And
Yeah.
I think once this period of building PC is out the way, I'm gonna be past that. The main reason I brought all this up is that I don't want to mention the names of a lot of these tech people.
Yeah.
Because I've like watched a bunch of videos and learnt things about processors and learnt things about RAM and learnt things about how silly RGB can get.
Yeah.
And then gone, hey, we built a PC for PewDiePie. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Stepping away from you.
Yeah. There's a few channels that I have noticed you watching and gone like, I'm pretty sure that's one of the... I think that's one of the bad ones.
I don't know anything about any of these people because I don't usually get involved in it.
I've come across some of their names because working on the internet,
Okay.
but yeah.
Why didn't you tell me?
I wasn't certain and then I forgot to Google, but there's a few where the names have been that's a really familiar name. Why do I know that name? But you know about computers at this moment.
I know how to build a computer, and probably on Thursday I will be building one.
And watching you put the new computer together and hear about all the parts of it, I've been like, I could computer.
You're going to replace the dust box. The precious dust box.
Upgrade or who knows, we'll see. At the very least, I'm waiting for that PS5. By the time this goes up, the PS5 reveal event will have happened, but if that goes up for pre-order, I should probably know how much that is before I plonk money down for a computer.
You mean you would get rid of this precious fursuit? I'm only teasing, I'm sorry.
You're being very mean.
I'm sorry, I love you.
I love you too.
And I think your PC looks beautiful. It really does. It's a lovely colour.
Yeah,
and a lovely design case.
Yeah, it's a nice case. Have you watched anything else this week?
I've been watching some of the same stuff you have. I watched some of that Tom Scott. I keep getting things you may not know.
Yes. I watched one video in particular of his this week, which was about a programming question that's often given to a lot of first-time programmers in job interviews, which is the fizzbug problem. Fizzbuzz, which is apparently a children's game where you count up numbers, but every time you say a multiple of 3, you say fizz. If it's a multiple of 5, you say buzz. And if it's a multiple of 3 and 5, you say fizzbuzz. And trying to program a computer to do this problem. And the reason it's apparently set as a beginner programmer problem is because there are 1,000 different ways you could approach the problem, and depending on how you approach it should tell your employer a lot about the way you think about programming. What about you? What sort of Tom Scott videos have you been watching?
I watched the one about Dasani water.
Oh, yes.
About how that basically just fell on its arse because we weren't ready for filtered tap water in this country. Partly because of the whole thing with Only Fools and Horses. And partly because there was also some issues found with their water here, which is why you can't buy Dasani water in this country.
Nope.
You can buy many other types of bottled tap water, but not that one in particular. And the really good thing I watched this week was Pokétoons.
Yes, I watched this as well.
Well, you know which Pokemon it is. I know Mimikyu's in there.
Yes, Scraftree, I believe. It's the one that looks like it's constantly holding its trousers up. It's got oversized big baggy trousers.
And it's done in the style of those sort of classic Merry Melodies cartoons.
Yeah, but with obviously slightly higher resolution and stuff, but it's definitely that sort of style.
Yeah, it's beautifully animated.
Oh god, yeah, and it's very well sort of paced to the musical orchestration behind it.
Yeah. It is a little bit slapsticky in places.
Yeah, it is a silly, no words required to watch it video about following this Mimikyu that's dropping a bunch of treats out of its bag. Oh, silly slapsticks ensue. And a brief glimpse of what might be under the Mimikyu.
Oh. You don't want to see that right away.
It's a brave person who looks at what's under the Mimikyu.
And the it didn't feel cheap, but the way they were sometimes reusing a few frames of animation.
Oh, yeah.
Just I know that trope. That's really good, and you've used it well.
Yeah, it is a gorgeous little bit of animation. I would love to see more of that be a thing.
It's about 5 minutes long, 7 minutes long.
Yeah, it's long enough to be I feel like that was worth sitting down to pay attention to.
It feels like something that the BBC would have stuck on back in the 1980s.
Yeah,
because they needed to fill time. Have you watched anything else?
The only other thing I watched is the new episode of Last Week Tonight, John Oliver's sort of newsy breakdowny show, and it was a big old important episode this week that talked about the prison system and prison reform and the police and a lot of things that are very important right now. I think a big thing that it touches on that I think is really important is the whole discussion around how the 13th Amendment was basically a way to keep getting unpaid labour out of black people after slavery was abolished. 'Cause it's like, you can still have an unpaid workforce if you imprison them first. Let's arrest a bunch of black people. There's a lot of like very sensible talk in the video about stuff like abolishment or defunding of the police. It is a good video.
Nice.
It's well handled.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's everything I've watched this week.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I've watched is lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of videos on Twitter of the police being fucking awful.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Although, one very positive video. Did you see that statue that just tripped and fell in the river?
Oh, it's so impressive that it tripped and fell all the way into the river.
Yeah. I'm sure many witnesses would say exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was home that day, but even I could see it from here. It tripped so high, I could see it from here.
And
then
tripped straight in the river.
Straight in the river.
And no one is to blame. Whichever police force it was that was like, we are very interested to find out who was involved in the thing. Nope, definitely just slipped and fell. All the witnesses. Well then, time for this. Hello, we've got a new sponsor!
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you like video games?
I do like video games.
I am shooketh by this revelation that you
I know
like video games.
It's almost like I decided to talk about them a lot.
Right. Well, I imagine that you pay a pretty penny for those video games.
Well, on occasion, definitely, yeah.
Well, I mean, as somebody who has to go through a lot of them and not always getting them.
I don't
for
always
review
get them
purposes.
from the PR people. Sometimes I do have to pay for a video game.
Well, would you like to pay less for those video games?
So something like, that charity bundle we talked about earlier.
No.
No? Okay, okay. Okay, tell me more, I guess.
Why not check out V2G? It's a game key reseller.
Oh. Okay.
Apparently, they have games keys for many of the most popular games around at the moment.
Yeah.
Going for a fraction of the
A
retail price.
suspiciously low price, you might say.
I mean, it is unusually low.
Yeah, like, no one who has legitimately purchased a game is gonna sell that key for that low, you would think.
You don't think so?
I mean, it's real low.
But how would they get them if not legitimately?
They couldn't have fallen off the back of a truck because they're digital codes and that's not how that works.
Unless
but
it was a digital truck.
I mean, they could have fallen off the back of a digital truck. Like a big email with a bunch of codes in it might have just, like, toppled over and into their yard.
I know.
Oh no. The only sensible thing to do would be to carry them all together and
aggregate them
and sell them on.
Yeah.
So that they can get to new homes.
To new homes, because video games need to be played. That's probably how it works. So there's V2G, a video game key reseller that doesn't... definitely not knock off anything.
Definitely, no.
It's weird that they felt the need to accentuate that particular...
Yeah.
Really underline, definitely not stolen. Definitely.
Definitely not.
Definitely not stolen. There's V2G. Head over there and click the link for, 95% off some of the top 10 video games this month. With the code QNPS121.
121?
121.
That's like a resale. It's from one person to one person.
Or V2G.
Oh.
Inside the boardroom of Electronic Actor Softworks.
Hi. So, important information on docket today. So,
sure.
You know how we had that deal running with that indie studio.
The game, and we bought the sequel.
Yeah. We were paying them money, and they were gonna publish it under us, and that was all.
Yeah, and I kept saying how I wasn't entirely comfortable with the paying money.
Yeah, like they've been making the game, and it's been great, but they came back to us the other day and were like, "Hey, we would like slightly more money."
Yeah,
like they used the royalty word.
Royalty.
It's where they take money
with the wanky wave. Yeah,
it's the one where they take money every time the game is sold, not just once.
No. So
I've got a plan.
Good. I'm glad we have a plan. We need to get on that shit.
We still need the game Because, like, it's the, we need something in the indie darling slot that we can,
Yeah.
probably win awards for
And
or something.
we've made a whole big thing about the fact that we have that game.
Yeah. So, like, we're not gonna not have that game.
No.
But, like, here's what I think we do.
Right.
What we do, we don't tell the people who make that game that the game's cancelled.
Right.
But we contact everyone working on it and
Right.
say, hey, you're no longer working on it. Do you want to come work for us and work on it?
Yeah, I mean, we can make it sound like their employers fucked the whole thing up.
Yeah, and then we're offering them a safety net.
Yeah, hey, it turns out that your employer is no longer doing this. Maybe they didn't tell you that, but we're willing to offer you a safety net.
And hopefully, if enough people, like, panic and think they've lost their jobs and agree to, work on it for us, at that point, the indie team's suddenly not got enough staff to make it themselves, and then they go, oh, well, you can't make it because you don't have enough staff.
And we can probably sue them for breach of contract because, they then can't present the
Exactly,
the game
and
that we
then
paid for.
We just get the staff that we poached from, I guess, ourselves to make the game for us. Just
And-
without having to negotiate.
And then, if the Metacritic scores aren't what they should be, we don't offer them a bonus, and we sack them as soon as the whole project's finished.
You. Fucking genius.
I know. So, what have you put in your ears?
Not a huge amount this week.
No,
I
same.
put a few new songs in my ears, but it's been
Oh.
mainly watching and playing this week.
Yeah.
I listened to a track called Nights Like These by Pigeon Pit. It's one person playing very fast and frantically, almost rushed on an acoustic guitar. It always feels like they're trying to be half a beat ahead of where they are. A lot of the lyrics are about self-identity. There's a lot of talk about I'm not going to change myself for anyone else. But there's also a lot of discussion of being high as a kite and trying to work out who you are while you're going through some ego death. There is like the sort of, I'm kind of a bit all over the place at the second, but I feel like little bits of stuff are happening, and maybe I'll come out the other end and I'll know some things. I think that narrative sentiment works really well with the sort of like slightly not quite in time with itself franticness of the music underpinning it. It's a very interesting sound to it. I think it works well for the track. What about you?
Oh, I basically just listened to more of the stuff that we talked about last week. So I listened to TCIYF.
Oh,
Come in Your Face.
That Come On Your Face.
Live at Afropunk 27.
Oh, yes.
Band practice, which I thought was quite silly, and I think anyone who's been in a band probably.
Oh, very much. You see what I mean? They've got like a very playful silliness to
yeah,
them.
absolutely. Space Cock Invaders Part 1, Tupperware. I've got to listen to Tupperware. What's the other one? It's them and it's Ditch Disaster. It's them with Skate Society Sowoto.
Yes.
That was really good. I enjoyed that. And I listened to a bunch more Big Joni.
Yeah.
Particularly enjoyed Fall Asleep, Way Out, How Could You Love Me, and New Year.
Heck. I listened to one other song. I listened to a song called A Cab for Cutie. A Cab for Cutie. By a band called Weezer 2. The sequel to Weezer, I guess. It's a sort of anti-cop punk track with a femme vocalist. It's quite raw and distorted.
Cool.
It's just a silly thing I stumbled upon this week. Thank you, Spotify, for recommending me something with A-Cab in the title.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to the new episode of the Magnus Archives.
Ooh.
It'll be the episode before most recent.
Fire Escape.
Yes, Fire Escape. No, not Fire Escape.
It wasn't Fire Escape, was it? It was Recollection.
Ah, that's it. Recollection. The Magnus Archives continues to be a fantastic show. Occasionally they'll do an episode where it's like, oh,
That was difficult.
that one got to me on a personal level. You real dug into my fears and said them word for word.
Yeah.
Show. I mean, they are a horror podcast, and it's always a good sign that a horror podcast knows what it's doing when, if it touches on one of your specific fears, it can get to the heart of what makes it scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, no, you understand what makes this fear scary. You've done your homework.
Yep.
So it continues to be a fantastic podcast, but I needed a couple of days to be ready for that one.
You might, if you're going to listen to it, you might want to check the content warnings for that episode.
Yeah, its content warnings I think will be applicable to a reasonable number of people for
Yes, I think so.
that particular episode.
Mm.
I think with a title like Recollection, it's not the hardest thing in the world to imagine what those trigger warnings might be.
Yeah.
But the Magnus Archives continues to be a spectacular show.
Absolutely.
I'm very curious how they're going to stick that landing eventually.
Not long now.
I know. Is that everything you've listened to?
Oh, that's everything I've listened to.
Well,
Just some punk.
Well then, so for this.
Hi there. We're here to teach you about our latest startup.
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah, so your house is all cluttered and stuff.
Yeah.
Feels like really overwhelming.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so if you just pay us, say, $500, we will send in our team who will help restore spiritual flow to your house. I learned this while I was doing my gap year.
Yeah.
I toured around. I went to some very spiritual places in the world. A lot of them have less stuff in their homes. So, there's less. You see here how you have, your phone and your computer and your TV there and another TV in the bedroom.
Yeah.
You're just gonna give us that $500 and, maybe a processing fee. And maybe an hourly rate on top of that. And we're just going to take those things away. We're going to get rid of those for you.
Are you going to, sell them and return the money to me? Or, give them to good causes? Or
yeah, I mean,
dispose
it's
of them
definitely
safely?
a cause we believe in. So, yeah, we'll get rid of those things. We'll get rid of all your clothes. Because you only really need, a few outfits.
Right.
And we're gonna get rid of all your, important goods and things. Because you don't need all that stuff. That's just clutter. That's just cluttering up your home and blocking you spiritually. Okay? So we're just gonna take that $500 plus the processing fee, the hourly rate, and I think there's some other overheads in there as well. There's also, a bonus package where we can help you, if you've got a lot of shoes, we can help you get rid of those as well. That comes in for another $150. We will also take your phone, if you want to pay for the premium package.
I do notice you're not, taking anything that isn't valuable.
Well, I mean, no, it's the having the valuable things that, corrupts you spiritually.
And you're definitely not just taking them to put in your own home.
I mean, I have much nicer things in my home, thank you very much. But, I can have more much nicer things if you subscribe to the Premium Platinum service, which, comes with, all the extra bits. We will even take your headphones, your Raycons or your...
No, thank you, goodbye.
Hello and welcome to our decorating show.
Today we're going to be making the house very pretty.
Very pretty indeed. As Mummy is out, we are here looking after the spot.
Oh yeah, her spot.
Hi, Spot.
Pat,
Spot.
pat.
Spot is very fluffy. Very furry.
I'm going to start by drawing a pretty picture on the wall so the wall is more pretty. I will be a rainbow and a tree.
Now, you can use crayons for this, or chalks, or anything you have, but today we're going to use Daddy's Sharpies.
They're the best ones because they don't come off by accident.
They don't come off by accident, and it's harder to do smudgings, and, if we're doing pretty house and make it look nice forever, we need to make sure it doesn't smudge. No.
Now, what are you going to do next?
Next, we are going to put peanut butter on all of the carpets so that Spot will enjoy the carpets more because Spot is a big fan of peanut butter.
I'm also a big fan of peanut butter, but not on the floor.
Not on the floor. But if all the floor was peanut butter, then maybe. So we're going to just get all of the peanut butter and rub it in.
And there it is in the carpet.
There it is all in the carpet. We will need to get more peanut butter when Mummy gets home because it didn't quite reach all the way to the edges. But Spot seems very happy.
And then we're gonna take the perfume and we're gonna put it in the toilet so it stops smelling smelly.
It smells smelly or poopy in the toilet.
No.
So we're putting all of Mummy's best perfumes because Mummy smells of flowers.
Mummy does smell of flowers.
Mummy does smell of flowers. And then we are going to do some special handprint painting because, like, when Mummy took we did our hands in the clay, and that is now up on the wall. We're going to add some more of those because our hands are slightly bigger now.
And we're going to do it with chocolate spread.
On all the curtains, so the curtains will have a lovely chocolate spread pattern, and that will look very nice with that. It'll go very good with all the other things, the carpet and things.
And lastly, we are going to make lots of bubbles in the bathroom.
Yeah, I have had the water running for about an hour now, and the plug is.
I can't count now.
The plug is in, and I put all of the bottles into the bath. And it is very bubbly, and it's starting to come in here now too.
I think we've done a very good job.
Thank you for coming to our show.
Bye.
Question time. It's time for questions.
What's the questions?
Sapphire Sunset asks, what was the defining moment of your post-school life?
Oh. I feel like it has to be launching the Patreon and making games writing my full-time job. I think that's probably the defining thing. I don't know what the fuck my life would be if that one in particular event hadn't occurred.
I think I'd have to go with coming out. Again.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think I was just coming out as I was still in school.
Wow.
Yeah, where I was in second attempt at sixth form and I was starting to come out to friends. Yeah.
Gosh, I wish I'd come out earlier. Or stayed out the first time.
I mean, life's fucking scary sometimes.
It really is.
Gosh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
God, that suddenly reminded me how long ago I first started coming out to people. That's a while ago.
It's been a long road. Calendry asks, have you ever used dating apps? And if so, what was your experience?
Huh?
Have you?
I don't believe I've ever used a dating app.
There was one point when I was on like 16 different dating apps.
How was your experience?
Most of them, it turned out, are not as populated as they claim to be in their blogs. No. We've got people from all over the world. You've got like 6 people on your entire dating site for a global thing in a very specialist, like, particular genre of dating. Then there was like the trans-Pacific ones, which is full of chasers and like fetishists.
Yeah.
If that's what you're into, that's fine, but that was not how I wanted to be treated.
Yeah.
Lesbian dating sites, which were a nice mix of, you look really good, keep going. And I think the worst one was one morning I woke up, I got a pop-up that had a message from someone. We started messaging back and forth.
Yeah.
We were having a really nice chat, and I was like, cool, I've got to pop and have a shower because I've got to go to work in a minute.
Yeah.
But I'll be back in a bit. I'm guessing they hadn't read my profile before messaging me. Seen pictures and were apparently cool with those.
Yeah.
Took the time while I was in the shower to like maybe read profile and have something to talk about. And by the time I got back from the shower, it was like, you're a disgusting creature. And I was blocked. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, literally the first line of my profile says I'm a trans woman, so if you didn't take that much thing to read before chatting to me, that's really your problem.
Yeah. This is why I've been lucky enough to be able to find people outside of dating apps to be like, hello, human being there is no pretense of dating. I will befriend and see where go.
I was on dating sites for about 8 years. I met 2 people. One of them lived very, very far away. we had 3 in-person dates, and I got dumped like the day after the second one, and they were still visiting from Norway for 3 more days
Oh,
while staying at mine.
oh, that's...
So there's 3 days of me like plastering on a smile and getting through the day.
I mean, if someone dumps you, I think you're allowed to go, okay.
I
you're
knew
gonna
they
have
didn't
to-
have anywhere else to go.
Well,
And
I
I
mean,
couldn't leave them just stranded in a foreign country. It was just when they went, "Are you going to take me to the airport then?" I just burst into tears and went, "No! Go home!"
oh, I'm sorry you've had that kind of experience.
That's fine. And the other one is the partner we don't talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Ugh.
Mm.
Ugh.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, when 6 months after you start dating someone, you have to kick them, literally physically kick them out of your house and call the police.
It wasn't going
It
well.
wasn't going well.
Oh no.
It wasn't going well. I didn't need to see those things.
No.
No. So bad, Galadriel, would be my answer to that. Becky Toohill. Hi, Becky.
I
love you.
love you.
If you could make fruit any texture, what texture would you make it for you? Personally, I wish more things had watermelon crunch and fewer were slimy and soft.
Oh, if I could have like uncooked carrot texture, but the flavors of various fruits, that'd be great.
Like pasta texture?
Oh, pasta texture's good.
Pasta texture's good. Like, I like strawberry texture. If it was more even throughout, because there's sometimes it's a bit harder. If it was always those like nice, really fresh, really soft, like put your thumb through them strawberries.
I'll take your word on that one.
Not a fan. Without like any kind of aggregation on them.
I mean, I can't.
No CD
Because they exist in a multi-textured state, I can't mentally separate out one texture from it that would be nice. Because it is just an amalgam in my brain.
So, pineapple pasta then.
Pineapple apple.
No, not really a big fan of apple texture.
I could do apple texture, I could do pineapple carrot.
Apple is really one of the few textures I really struggle with.
Mango carrot. Oh, I could go for some mango carrot.
Fleshy. I'm just trying to imagine something as fruit that isn't fruit. Anyway, Tricky asks, if you had a magic blade that could talk to you, would you want to hear what it had to say?
Yes, because if the Power Rangers TV show has taught me anything, it is that talking blades are just full of, amusing puns and quips.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I would trust my talking blade to, tell me all about how I'm going to defeat the party patrol.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it's as long as it's not a bigot, I would want to hear what it had to say.
Exactly. I feel like if your blade starts talking to you, that's the start of I am the destined one, and me and my blade are going to go on a magical quest across the land.
Even if not, it's just like Janet the Sword. It's like, hi, how are you? I'm alright. I'm a sword.
I know, Janet.
No, Janet, it's really cool. Yeah, I can talk too. That's really cool. Yeah.
I would love to get Janet the Talking Sword as a podcast guest. If I'm ever doing a stream and I'm like, well, I've got no one to hang out on the stream with. Janet, do you want to be on stream today?
I'd love to be on stream with you. What are we playing?
Well, I'm playing, you're watching and talking about.
Oh, yeah, because I don't have any thumbs.
I want to be friends with Janet the Talking Sword now.
You can be friends with Janet the Talking Sword.
Yeah.
I'll get a cosplay or something. Oh my god, the Sane asks, have you ever actually existed in an... Has there ever existed an evil campaign where you weren't primarily opposing an equal or greater evil, where everyone didn't just quit out of discomfort before it reached a satisfying conclusion? I mean, I couldn't even write an evil campaign without it becoming, and you have to deal with a bigger evil.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think I could.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I could get away with... Like, it's... Because D&D, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And I think when you can do anything, you just go, okay, what is the most evil thing I can do?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do those things.
Yeah. I think there are pieces of media that have done it that are not, like, tabletop campaigns. I think of something like Undertale. If you play that through on a genocide path, it never puts a greater evil in front of you. It puts a very strong force for good that is like, hey, I'm just trying to stop you from killing all my friends.
The hero?
Yeah, it puts the hero in front of you. Like, I think that's the way you do it, is like you have to make the final confrontation the hero trying to save everyone.
But also, I think in a video game, there is still that limitation of what's been programmed.
Yes.
Whereas in something like D&D, there is as much evil as your brain can imagine.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's just the fact that I'm a really paranoid person.
Yeah.
But I can think of horrible things, but I wouldn't want to carry them out. Not for any amount of time. It's like, okay, we'll do a one-shot. It's going to be a few hours and we're going to do the thing. We'll do some morally questionable things to exorcise that part of
People
ourselves.
generally don't want truly evil campaigns as much as they think they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't, as I said, I couldn't even write one. I just went, okay, what are the typically evil people considered to be? And what do they do? Okay, there is something worse, and it is the supposedly good people. Because it turns out human beings were the monsters all along. Because I'm very unoriginal. That's not actually the whole story. You'll find out if you keep listening to Polyamory. Stone Monkey Radio, which is available on Spotify and such. Daria Morgendorfer, that's an amazing name. How much would Woodchuck chuck if Woodchuck could chuck... Hang on. How much would Woodchuck chuck if Woodchuck could chuck a racist statue in the river? I mean, it'd probably go for bronze rather than wood.
The woodchuck wouldn't chuck it because it would throw itself in the river.
Yeah, didn't you hear?
The
statue just fell.
Yeah, the woodchuck would not chuck.
No, the woodchuck would be like, yep.
I see that statue throwing itself in the river.
Oh, friend, let me help you.
Oh no, you fell in the river.
You fell. I tried to pull you back.
For anyone who can't see, Jane is making a pushing motion.
Nobody can see. I'm very silly. Lucy asks, is a cheeseburger a sandwich? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's between two slices of bread. It's a sandwich.
Yes.
This is the thing I always hated when I worked in fast food, but it's true.
Yeah.
Samuel West says, about a month ago, Laura made a comment about how Beyond Good and Evil felt differently to her because people rising up because the government did a crime seemed less realistic than when she originally played. Have the recent protests helped restore her faith in that narrative?
I mean, I picked a real fucking moment to go. I feel like the thought of a populace rising up against those in control just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And in my defense, the last 3 to 4 to 5 years have not really reassured anyone that was a possibility.
I don't think you were wrong in any way.
Oh no, hopefully the universe decided to spite me and go, oh, you don't think this is possible? Well,
did you tempt fate?
Yes, did fate tempt you, you say? Well, the world shall prove you wrong. I've never been
fate, would you like a hobnob?
I've never been so happy to be proven wrong.
Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the world has made me able to go back to Beyond Good and Evil, thank you.
Don't you think the police look really tired right now?
Yeah, they do. Wouldn't it be a real shame if they just...
went home for a nap?
Yeah, if we just kept up that
come
pressure,
back. Larry Ellingenby says, can you all describe a game you enjoy badly and ask each other to guess it?
Okay. Have you got one ready for this?
No.
Okay, I've maybe got one. A man hops through countless realities purely because he's real hungry for some baked dessert. Jane's got quite the look on her face.
Hmm. Hmm.
Do you have
Can I
any?
hear it again?
Okay. A man jumps through countless realities because he's really hungry for some sweet baked dessert.
No.
Super Mario 64. He's going through all of the various realities in that castle because Princess Peach is like, hey, I baked a cake for you.
Oh god, is that what the plot of that was?
The plot is Princess Peach is like, hey, you should come to the castle. I've made a cake for you. And he shows up and it's like, oh, where's Peach? There's all these paintings. Guess I'll go through these paintings. It's- Yeah, it is entirely because, hey, come to the castle, I made you cake.
I forgot that the cake was the inciting
Yeah.
event of that.
Yeah. What about you? Have you got one?
Pollution is a problem, and there's special facilities, and then you collect a bunch of stuff and stop the pollution being an issue.
Mario Sunshine?
It's
Okay.
not a Mario game.
No. I didn't think so, but because my brain was on that. So can you tell me that one more time?
Pollution is a problem, and there's special facilities, and then you collect a bunch of stuff and stop pollution being an issue.
Oh, is this Little Inferno?
No.
What is it?
Day of the Tentacle.
Oh. You see how I thought Little Inferno because of the pollution out the chimneys and the whole thing at the end with, you collect a bunch of stuff.
I can't remember how Little Inferno ends. I wanted to play it again recently, but everyone in my chat was like, I'm very uncomfortable with this. I was like, okay, I'm
Hey,
going to stop
if you want to
playing.
play it with me at some point, we can sit and play through it all because
We can sit around our Little Inferno fireplace.
I've been craving going back to it as well. Inferno just for me. Have we got any other questions?
I'm sorry, I was completely distracted by that.
I mean, Little Inferno is a distracting concept.
Fire. Burn. Lucy Nevins asks, what boob is your favourite? I don't have a favourite boob.
I feel bad that I have a favourite boob, but Lefty is my favourite.
Oh, you mean like a personal boob? I meant I thought it was like of all the boobs in the world.
I assumed
It's like, I'm not playing favourites.
I assumed this was of my own boobs, which is my favourite. Like, I like Lefty.
I too like Lefty, but mainly
Yeah.
because that's the tattooed one.
Lefty, I don't know why I like Lefty. Lefty is a good boob, right?
That's a nice titty.
That's a nice titty.
That's a nice fucking
Lefty
titty.
is a nice titty.
But righty is also a nice titty. Righty is a little bit colder, but you've been holding righty less.
I've been holding Lefty because I've been trying to work out which titty I like more.
Which titty do I like more? I just massage the titty. They're
Yeah.
both excellent titties.
Left is definitely my favourite titty.
I'm a big fan of both of your titties. I'm a big fan of both of my titties. I'm a big fan of both of Becky's titties.
Yeah. There are many good titties in this world.
I mean, not forgetting all of the other titties in the world.
There is nary a bad titty in this world.
Right, that some of them are big, some of them are small, some of them are long, some of them are like more flat, some of them are very plump, some of them are very, very plump.
All titties are good titties.
Titties are good titties. That is all the questions.
Well then,
Time for this.
time for this.
Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Bradshaw Justice Warriors.
Racial Justice Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, Larry.
Alright, Barry. How you doing?
I'm not too bad, mate. Not too bad. You been up to much?
Oh, I've been alright. I've been, thinking a bit about, pride and how that's not such a thing this year,
Well, I feel that it's basically, we have bigger fish to fry.
Well, we do, and I certainly think so, but
Or should I
also...
say pig? A bigger pig to fry.
Well, I've been thinking a bit about what form Pride might take next year, if and when it comes back, when things are in a different situation. And I feel like, I don't know if you agree with me on this. I feel like Pride could probably do with a year off to reassess what it is and what it's become over the years.
Yeah, maybe a return to grassroots and core values. And I know that sounds like horribly sort of business speak, but
Yeah, but
maybe a bit less of the business.
yeah. Well, that's it. There's nothing wrong with Pride being a bit of a party sometimes, there's nothing wrong with having a positive uplifting Pride, but
I think we definitely need to celebrate.
Yeah, but also Pride doesn't need to be as commercial as it is, certainly.
No.
It does not need to be like, oh, here's the Lynx Africa float and here's the Tesco parade going by.
No, I know a lot of the arguments various prides have said why that needs to happen is that, they were basically priced by the city into having to take corporate sponsorship.
Well, I understand that, but also, what would be a really good thing to turn around and say at these companies is like, hey, if you really want to support Pride, give us your donation and support regardless, without making it about you.
Yeah. Because it isn't about you.
No.
And you might have, LGBTQIA plus staff.
Yeah.
They can come along. They can, bang a drum and shout a slogan and, chant for our rights, for our continued rights, for our extended rights, for, making sure that all facets of our great intersection community are, being celebrated and having all the rights they want or need.
It doesn't necessarily need to be, woo, there's an Asda. Yeah.
Yeah, and I must say that my stomach turns every time I see, and here's the police.
Oh, well,
and here's the military. And here's the Navy.
That is one in particular I was going to say is, this year, if it has taught us anything, is it's really hit home that whole, can we not have cops at Pride? We've been asking for this for a while, but can we not have cops at Pride?
Yeah, not just no cops at Pride, but, this is the thing that I was mentioning earlier about, the cities have said, this is costing a lot of money. Well, we have to police these things. I mean... Have you seen angry protesters deal with, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
When trouble has arisen at Pride, we've largely been able to deal with it ourselves. And in the few places where, police have stepped in, very often that ends worse for the people marching for Pride than whoever has come to cause trouble.
Yeah. And often the troublemakers end up getting... Well, there was that particular year where the troublemakers at London Pride got...
A police escort.
A police escort, which is, not ideal. But on top of that, it's thinking about stuff like, having more protest energy at Pride, having more, protest chants and, also, addressing some of the ongoing problems that we probably should be thinking about. Like, in the UK, there is London Pride, but there is also London Black Pride, which is a separate event that happens because there's a lot of black people in London who did not feel welcome at London Pride.
No.
And that is something that with a year off, perhaps, London Pride should look at and go, what could be done differently to try and change that situation? Because,
how did it get to a point where, a whole community of people just went, we can't be part of your Pride?
Indeed. And, that's the thing. Like, if we're taking a year off, maybe let's stop and reassess those things. Like, structurally, what do we want Pride to be and what should be the focus of it?
Yeah, we want Pride to be about, a celebration of what we've achieved and, also fighting for what still needs to be done because there is still a lot of systematic oppression. It's nice to see, amnesty in Pride marches because obviously they're talking about, what's going on in the rest of the world where people are, murdered for their sexuality or their identity or whatever else. And, we need to celebrate more of that. We need to make Pride more accessible. The number of people who don't go to certain Prides because it's too busy, or the way barriers are set up, or the fact that there's, no public toilets.
Exactly. There are a whole host of problems that we should probably be addressing while we've got the time.
Absolutely.
Virtual hug.
Oh, yeah, mate, yeah. Oh, I really thought we'd be doing the in-person ones by now.
I suspect it's going to be a while.
I'm starting to think it might be spring at this point.
Yeah.
Good hug, mate.
Good hug.
Oh, shall we pop our respective kettles on?
Yeah, have respective separate cups of tea.
Indeed.
So, Laura,
Yes.
how can we find you on the internet, darling?
You can find me at Laura K. Buzz in all the places. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills. laurakbuzz.com, that is where I post links to everything that I do, be it written articles, videos, podcasts, freelance features, all that kind of stuff. I have a video series now that goes up every Friday. Accessibility. It is a video series that is edited by Justin, who edits the Jimquisition, and it's a sort of highly edited video show about video game accessibility and representation, and I'm real proud of it, and people should go check it out. I've got some books. There is Uncomfortable Labels, which is about being gay and trans and on the autism spectrum. There is Things I Learned from Mario's Butt, which is coming out on February 4th, 2021. Darn you, virus. Additionally, there's another book that you're going to hear about very soon. Yeah, I've got podcasts as well. There is the Laura K. Buzz podcast feed, where any written article I do that isn't a freelance feature gets a audio version of that done. So subscribe to the Laura K. Buzz podcast if audio is how you like to consume things. There is Pixel Squirt, where we talk about video game character pornography. There is Dice Funk, where we do Dungeons and Dragons. I'm on seasons 3, 4, 5, 6, and now season 7, where I play a sex cult member mantis lady. So that's a thing that's happening now. What was that?
Octopus sex cult.
Mantis sex cult.
Yeah, but there was an octopus sex cult first.
Yeah, there was. And then I'm on another podcast that, Jane, you can tell us about.
I am the Dungeon Mistress for Polyamory. It's a 5th edition real play evil campaign that's maybe not as evil as it seems. There are bad people in it, and you might consider that the heroes are also somewhat morally questionable. You can find that over at you can find that over at soundcloud.com/JaneArisMagnets. Or you can just look for Stoned Monkey Radio on SoundCloud. Basically, you can find all of my stuff, all of my links at patreon.com/StonedMonkeyRadio. For as little as $1 a month, you can support me and help me do more creating things and hopefully spend more time doing the creating things. And yeah, and then maybe I get to make that full-time one day. They also have stonemonkeyradio.blog, where I write things, and janiac.redbubble.com, where I make t-shirts. I've recently sold a bunch of t-shirts.
Yay!
I hope that if anyone who's listening has got one of those t-shirts, that you are very happy with your t-shirt and or mug. Yeah. Enjoy it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. So, Laura, sing us out, darling.
Until next time, be a stranger.